Hey, I'm John Cannell, and today on Preppy Kitchen we're making a dreamy, delicious tres leches cake. So let's get started. First off, set your oven to 350 and you're gonna wanna butter a 9 by 13 inch baking dish. And if you prefer, you could make this in two 8-inch square or round pans to have two tres leches, one for you, one to deliver. This is gonna be the cake of your dreams. First off, in a large bowl, you're gonna combine the dry ingredients, starting with 2 cups or 240 grams of all-purpose flour. So if you haven't had tres leches cake before, you are missing out. It's so delicious. A simple vanilla sponge with no butter or oil gets baked up. Then we're gonna drench it in a combination of evaporated whole milk and sweetened condensed milk. Together, they're gonna soak that cake through and through and make it so perfectly delicious. Topped with whipped cream, it's impossible to beat. To puff things up, 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder. My mother's from Mexico, so along with flan, this was one of our favorite desserts that was on a heavy rotation. And 1/2 teaspoon of salt for some contrast. Grab a whisk, our scale's done, and we're gonna mix this up. By the way, if you like my videos, hit that subscribe button. There's 2 new recipes every single week. Nice and distributed, let's set this aside and grab our stand mixer. This cake has a lovely, delicate crumb thanks to the way we're gonna treat the eggs. They're not just gonna get dumped into the bowl. We're gonna separate the yolks from the whites, and you'll want 5 eggs for this recipe. So here, we're gonna be whipping up the egg whites with sugar to make a meringue, basically, and then folding that in at the very end with my egg yolk sugar flour mixture. This is gonna have thousands of tiny little bubbles that expand in the oven and help lift and leaven your cake so it's light and airy and can accept all of that delicious milk. Pop the whisk on and we're gonna add our egg whites in. The egg whites get beat on high until they're foamy and doubled in size. Then you're gonna add 1/4 cup or 50 grams of sugar, drizzling it in slowly, and some magic's gonna happen. My egg whites are foamy and doubled in size, so it's time for my sugar. Sprinkle that in. Let your mixer run for about 3 minutes, and you'll see the difference in the texture. I'm gonna stop it right now just so you can see. We have super soft peaks. See how droopy that is? Once they're stiff, they'll be sky high and sharp. Look at this. Stiff and perky, straight up. If you overbeat your egg whites, the consistency is not gonna be as nice, and when your cake is in the oven, those bubbles will burst as opposed to getting larger, in part at least. So watch the texture. So at this point, we're gonna set this aside, and you can either grab another mixer bowl or use a large bowl and a hand mixer. This time, the egg yolks are gonna get worked with. So 5 egg yolks, right in. A traditional tres leches cake won't have butter or oil in it because you want it to be a little bit drier and more open in crumb so it can accept all the milk mixture. If it was too fatty, it would just kind of repel the milk and you wouldn't have that soaking. Now we're gonna add the remaining cup of sugar, 200 grams. The sugar will soften and sweeten our cake. Reuse that whisk. And we're gonna beat this until it's pale in color and fluffier. Feel free to scrape the bowl down. So you don't have to go crazy on this, just thicker and lighter in color. And you can see it's more of a pastel. Thicker, but smooth. Okay. To this mixture, I'm adding 1/2 cup of whole milk. Just drizzle it in slowly while the mixer's running. And 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Just do a check and make sure it's all combined. Yeah. Now you're gonna pour the flour mixture in. and mix on low until it's just combined or almost combined. That's good. Still some flour around, so I'm going to just scrape it and mix by hand with the whisk. My mixer's done, the rest is gonna be by hand. Now we're gonna add our beautiful light meringue right into the batter in 2 additions. The first addition is gonna have a noble sacrifice. A lot of it's going to crumple up and you're gonna lose the bubbles, but the mixture itself will be lightened. So when we add the second half in, you'll retain more of those bubbles and it's just gonna mix nicer. So we're gonna scrape this down, bring your spatula up and cut through the middle. Then rotate and continue the process. You're making these like convection currents basically with your spatula. Circular motions, gently folding. Folding is like a gentle, careful mixing where you're trying to not disturb whatever your mixture is. Okay, and I just want to see that almost all of the streaks of white disappear before I move on. Tres leches, of course, is like a Latin favorite. If you're from Mexico, people will say this is a Mexican dessert. If you're from Nicaragua, they'll say this came from Nicaragua, and the list goes on. Basically, almost every country will claim that it's theirs, and that's fine. Everyone loves it. I'm not going to delve into the history, except to say that soaked cakes were popular for hundreds and hundreds of years. Like if you were in England, a rum-soaked cake, delicious. People love it. Traditional fruit cake is soaked in brandy. And soaking the cake in alcohol will preserve the cake, make it taste delicious, and allows it to last forever. It's thought that Portuguese and Spanish people brought this sensibility of soaked cakes to the New World, and you had cakes that were soaked in milk, custard, cheese, and alcohol. When canned milk became more readily available in the 1900s, this became super popular. You would use canned evaporated milk, sweetened condensed milk, and these were things that could travel really well and be kept. So you can thank all those canned milk companies for popularizing this recipe around the world. Okay, this looks beautiful now. Very light, very airy. I don't see really any streaks. Transfer your batter into the pan. Get every drop of batter out. Spread this out into a nice evenish layer. And now our cake is ready to go into the oven, 350 for 25 to 30 minutes until the center is nice and set. In the meantime, we're gonna make our tres leches. For your soaking mixture, you have a choice. Like on the blog, I gave you like a soak. But if you want to double the recipe, it becomes a soaking mixture, which I really prefer. So I'm doubling my blog's recipe. Instead of 2/3 of a cup of milk, 1 1/3 cups. Instead of 1 12-ounce can of evaporated milk, 2 12-ounce cans. And instead of 1 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk, 2 14-ounce cans. I'm gonna get my spatula for this part. And if you see a beautiful bottle of rum next to me, it's because if I was making this for adults, it would have, probably about a cup of dark rum. But that would be for an adult tres leches. So if you have like an adult's birthday party or something, I highly recommend getting a nice, beautiful dark rum, pouring it in, and it'll add so much. My 7-year-old twin boys are a bit young for that, so we're making a standard version today. Because no alcohol is cooked off when you do that. It's just straight poured on the cake. If you have any left over, this is wonderful with some coffee or espresso, giving you a Vietnamese coffee vibe. Grab a whisk and just give this a good mix. The sweetened condensed milk is so thick that, it'll take a while. If you wanted to, you could either buy or make dulce de leche. I have a blog post and I think a video on that too. It's really just cooking this down, or you can just buy it at the store and it gives you a more caramel flavor. It's a very subtle caramel, it's beautiful. And that's an easy just swap out. Lovely, thick and beautiful. I think a tres leches cake should be an ocean of this milk mixture with a beautiful piece of cake floating inside, or partially submerged inside with a little whipped cream topping. That's how it should be, not some bum dry cake that's like got a little bit of syrup someplace. You set this aside, and as soon as our cake comes out of the oven and cools, we're gonna get to work. My cake has come out of the oven. It smells so good. It smells like angel food cake, actually. That's what it reminds me of. Anyways, we have a choice here. Once your cake is just warm, no longer hot, you could use a big skewer, you could use a big fork, but either way, you're going to have to poke holes all over the cake because you really want it to absorb the liquid, not just on the edge, but the middle too. So poke your little heart out. Oh, the skewer could work too. I cannot wait. So we're gonna take about half of this and pour it over. Go slow because you really want it to soak in the center. Nothing wrong with a little strategic spooning. The remaining liquid will just be served with the cake, so it's kind of up to you. Like if you're gonna serve your cake in more of a bowl shape, yes, you want the reserved liquid. If you're gonna serve it on a dessert plate, you should probably soak the cake with almost all the liquid right now. When I lived in LA, there was one bakery, it was called Milk. Not Milk Bar, but Milk. And they served tres leches, but in like a plastic deep dish container. And it was a slice of the cake, like a square piece, and the container was completely filled with the tres leches. So only the whipped cream was poking up over the top. So good. It's time to cover and chill your cake at least an hour, but like a delicious soup, this is better the next day. It gives all that liquid a chance to soak in and the flavors combine. So make it a day ahead in advance and serve the next day for a delicious treat. When this comes out, it's time for the topping. Once your cake is chilled, it's time to make your whipped cream. 2 cups of cold heavy cream, right into your mixer, or a big bowl if you're using a hand mixer, and 2 tablespoons of powdered sugar. If you don't have powdered sugar, you could use granulated. Mix this up, starting on low, moving your way up gradually. And you're gonna mix this until it's almost ready. Keep an eagle eye on it because it happens so fast. Okay. Once it's coming together and getting started, just finish it off by hand. I have overmixed whipped cream too many times to think that the machine's just gonna let me know when it's ready. When you whisk it by hand, you can feel the resistance and you can see the texture change much more easily. Yeah, beautiful, perfectly soft peaks. By the way, if you want to, you could add a little bit more powdered sugar. That's totally fine. As a whipped cream aficionado, it's important. You don't want it too sweet though, because the syrup is fairly sweet. Grab your cake and let's get to work. This is the easiest cake to decorate. Just plop that whipped cream out and use an offset spatula to swoop it up. Swooping frosting gives the appearance that it is so much thicker than it actually is. Mind you, if you are addicted to whipped cream, double the recipe and have a mountain on top. It's up to you. When you swoop, you're just making little arcs or curves and getting some height. By the way, there's a video I put up fairly recently with my friend Rick Martinez. We made the coconut tres leches from Preppy Kitchen super easy. If you love coconut, definitely check that one out. It was a fun video too, he's super nice. My cake is ready to cut. Let's take a look inside. Give it a slice, serve with more of the milk mixture, and just like that, you're ready to enjoy. Aside from the amazing flavor and the perfect level of sweetness, what's really nice is the cake itself. It is so light and airy, but filled completely with that tres leches mixture. Oh my gosh. It's just a cake you can devour in a sitting. I hope you get a chance to make this amazing recipe, and if you like my videos, hit that subscribe button and check out my cake playlist.